I think that the difference between dialectical materialism and dialectical and historical materialism needs to be considered, because after all, dialectical materialism can be very well applied in science, or most of the sciences, but dialectical and historical materialism is that which is applied to the history of human society. And it's not surprising that Engels has got some quite useful things to say about this, and I want to make a couple of quite long quotes. One of them is the struggle for life, and I won't go through this all in one go, but it's quite a long quotation from page 208 of Engels' Dialectics of Nature. It says, until Darwin, what was stressed by his present adherents was precisely the harmonious cooperative working of organic nature. How the plant kingdom supplies animals with nourishment and oxygen. Yeah? Plants provide food for animals. The waste product of photosynthesis is oxygen, which are used by animals. And in turn, the animals supply plants with manure, with ammonia, from urine and so on, with carbonic acid or carbon dioxide, which is needed by the plants for their photosynthesis. But then he says, hardly was Darwin recognised before these same people saw everywhere nothing but struggle. So, and he said, Engels says, both views are justified within narrow limits, but both are equally one-sided and prejudiced. The interaction of dead natural bodies, and by dead natural bodies he actually meant non-living natural bodies, inert natural bodies, includes both harmony and collisions. And he says, the interaction of living bodies includes conscious and unconscious cooperation. Some they're conscious of and some they're not. And equally, conscious and unconscious struggle. And so hence, even in regard to nature, it's not possible to one-sidedly inscribe only struggle on one's banners, but it's absolutely childish to desire to sum up the whole manifold wealth of historical evolution and complexity in the meagre and one-sided phrase, struggle for life, because that says less than nothing. So what Darwin has presented us with is far, far more than just the idea of struggle for life. And then he's referring here to the neo-Darwinian theory, really. The whole Darwinian theory of the struggle for life is simply the transference from society to organic nature of two things. Of Hobbes' theory of bellum omnium contra omnes, which I think it translates as war of everything against everything, and of the bourgeois economic theory of competition, and the Malthusian theory of population. So what he's saying is that this Darwinian theory transfers from human society, those theories, to organic nature, that is non-human nature. And then when this has been accomplished, which is merely an assertion, and he says the justification for which especially regards the Malthusian theory is still very questionable, what you then do is very easily transfer the theories back again into human society and say, well, there they are, they're proved. It's very easy, I'll read from Engels' words, it's very easy to transfer these theories back again from natural history to the history of society, and altogether too naive to maintain that thereby these assertions have been proved as eternal natural laws of society. Okay? So we're dealing with far, far more than just the struggle for existence, and we mustn't be led astray into thinking that that is the essence of Darwinism, and I wanted to make that very clear. And then Engels goes on to talk about the fact that what the struggle by animals, the most they can do is to collect things, but man produces, and the development of humanity depends on the development of production. And he says, finally, under the capitalist mode of production, production reaches such a height that society can no longer consume the means of life, enjoyment and development that have been produced, because for the great mass of producers, access to these means is artificially and forcibly barred. And therefore, every 10 years, a crisis restores the equilibrium by destroying not only the means of life, enjoyment and development that have been produced, but also a great part of the productive forces themselves. And this is important. Hence, the so-called struggle for existence assumes the form, the form, to protect the products and productive forces produced by bourgeois capitalist society against the destructive, ravaging effects of this capitalist social order. By taking control of social production and distribution out of the hands of the ruling capitalist class, which has become incapable of this function, and transferring it to the producing masses, that is, to the socialist revolution. And so Engels here very, very thoroughly takes the idea of the struggle for existence, demolishes those who say the struggle for existence is natural, it happens in the natural world, therefore it's quite reasonable that it happens in human society. We can see it in capitalist society. It's a struggle between individuals in society to get wealth, to survive and so on. And says no, at the present time the question of the struggle for existence of humanity is the question of the struggle by the proletariat against the bourgeois capitalist class. I'll read that little last bit again, because this is the essence of the struggle for existence, and it takes this form. The struggle is to protect the products and productive forces produced by capitalist society against the destructive, ravaging effect of this capitalist social order. That's the struggle. And it's done by taking control of social production and distribution out of the hands of the ruling capitalist class, which has become incapable of this function, and transferring it to the producing masses, that is, the socialist revolution. And I hope there'll be plenty of discussion, but I'm going to finish up with another quote from the Dialectics of Nature, this time from chapter 19, as a kind of summary, in Engels' words. Darwin did not know what a bitter satire he wrote on mankind, and especially on his countrymen, when he showed that free competition, the struggle for existence, which the economists celebrate as the highest historical achievement, is the normal state of the animal kingdom. Only conscious organisation of social production, in which production and distribution are carried on in a planned way, can lift mankind above the rest of the animal world as regards the social aspect, that is, the social aspect of humanity. In the same way, the production in general has done this for men in their aspect as a species. I'll just refer back from that bit to the fact that in his whole work, the transition from ape to man, Engels has shown that it's production which has produced humanity as a species, as a distinct species. And what he's then talking about here is, in addition, production and distribution being carried on in a planned way can lift mankind above the rest of the animal world as regards the social aspect of his being. Historical evolution makes such an organisation daily more indispensable. By historical evolution, he's talking about this evolution of society. By historical evolution makes such an organisation daily more indispensable, but also, with every day, more possible. From it will date a new epoch of history, in which mankind itself, and with mankind all branches of its activity, and especially natural science, will experience an advance which will put everything preceding it in the deepest shade. And I've read that at the end because I think it's important that we realise that what Engels is talking about here is entirely in line with the spirit of Darwinian evolution and Darwin's observations and very, very thoroughgoing work, which some of else which may come out in the discussion, but I'll leave it there.